Hi there, I'm Matt Hickman. This is Terri Jo and Matt. We're talking about the Cochise County Jail District situation. Obviously, a lot of legal issues, but along the way, they've been talking about where this jail is going to be. And we want to spend a little time talking about that and talking about maybe what some of the favorites and some of the long shots are
Sure.
of the six proposed locations. I mean, obviously, right now it exists south of Bisbee on the way to Douglas there. Terri Jo, can you give us kind of just a quick synopsis of what the six preferred spots are?
Sure. And it's important to remember, Matt, that these six sites were kind of sort of just randomly, unofficially proposed to the the jail district project coordinator. So there's been no vote. The former board of supervisors didn't weigh in. The sheriff's office hasn't weighed in. So the six sites that we have are the current location, which for anybody who knows why we're building a new jail, or why we need a new jail, part of that is you have flooding problems, you have septic problems, water issues. It's a very hilly area. It's subject to a lot of flooding. But there are possibilities on that 40 acres or so where they could build a new jail and then use some of the existing buildings for certain facilities. So that's one of
that is one of the six, is the existing location.
Absolutely. So then there's another one in Bisbee, and this one actually I would say right now is the favorite amongst county officials, and that is on the west side of Bisbee, off of 92 and Melody Lane, where the current Cochise County government office is. So when you turn south on Melody Lane, on the east side is the big government complex. On the west side is just undeveloped desert.
Right.
And it's flat. It's easy to obtain. The county actually owns some of the land already. And you also then have some good facilities nearby. You've got gas stations. You're close to the hospital. So you also kind of have all your government entities there except for the court. The court is still in downtown Old Bisbee. So that's the second one. There's a third one being proposed for Tombstone, which is on Highway 80 and Davis Road. It'd be on the west side of what everyone calls the T intersection. That is not owned by the county, but it's long been for sale. The problem in Tombstone, even though it's a really good location, kind of distance-wise for everyone in the county, there's nothing there. You're literally in the middle of nowhere. There's no public safety right there. There's no hospital. There's no infrastructure, so utilities would all have to be brought in, all of that. So even though it's a centrally located area, when they do the evaluation, the Board of Supervisors are going to have to look at the fact of, can that area support it? So those are the three locations that are in District 2. There's also Douglas, which is out by the airport and also out by the prison. The problem there is that is the farthest location away. And even though the folks in Douglas would love it, you have that issue of anyone from Sierra Vista is now driving an extra hour because it's 30 minutes each way.
Most arrests take place in Sierra Vista area.
Correct. Douglas is kind of second-ish, but it's a big difference there. So those locations are in District 2. You then have Benson, and nobody knows even how this location came up. I-10 and Sybil Road. Yeah. The county owns the land. It's in the middle of nowhere.
So kind of towards Texas Canyon a little bit.
Correct. And so why would Sierra Vista, Douglas, Bisbee, Tombstone, why would any of them though? All we can assume is that somebody said, hey, we need a District 3 location.
I guess.
But if all of your arrests are being done south of that, why are you there? And so then the other one we have, number 6, it's probably the second favorite. And this is going to be Charleston Road and Moson Road.
Sierra Vista.
It's in the Sierra Vista area. Again, it's pretty flat. Some of the land is owned, some is state land, but obviously governments love to land swap. And so there's an interest there. The other problem there is, even though you're close to the hospital, you are kind of sort of away from the job pool. Who are you going to get to work? Most of our detention officers come from Bisbee and Douglas, and some from the Tombstone area. Are folks from Douglas going to drive all the way to Sierra Vista for one of the lowest paying county jobs there is. And the sheriff has done a great job trying to get that pay scale up. But you have that issue. Yes, there are a lot of workers in Sierra Vista, but are they workers who are looking for entry-level detention jobs? Are they bilingual? So you have that problem. So there's going to be a lot to be decided. Keep in mind that all of those 6 locations, those were picked last year. We have a totally new board of supervisors
So they
now.
can completely scrap all that.
They could scrap all of those. They could come back and say, hey, what about this one? There's folks talking about just south of St. David, off of State Route 80. So there's a lot that's going to happen if we get to that point.
Well, another factor is, and there's a lot of issues about how the vote was conducted and what all is what the courts are going to decide about this. The other issue is that came up was creating another courthouse, which is also needed. That would be sort of adjacent to this new jail.
Right.
So which location would be best suited for that?
So that's a very controversial issue. And we have found out that when the jail planning folks are referring to a new court, they're kind of actually referring to 2 things. So right now, almost every single person who gets arrested has to have an initial court appearance within 24 hours. That's being done at the jail in a noisy cell by a crappy video setup with a judge somewhere in the county. And the jail was not set up to have court hearings done. Also, if you are in jail pending serious felony charges, you can often get a plea deal within just the first few weeks, and it's called early resolution court. Again, there's no really good facilities at our current jail to have those conferences with your attorneys and those court hearings. So they're talking in the jail planning process of a smallish kind of court facility that would be part of the jail. That could go anywhere then, because it's all going to be electronic. If you're actually talking a whole new court, which was never part of the original plan, but as most folks know, has suddenly kind of come into the conversation. Yes, we need a new court system. We need a new big court. Where you put that, again, is going to come down to where are most of your crime and your civil cases, your family cases. Most of those are coming again from the Sierra Vista area. So if you're going to build a whole new court system, do you want to put it still in Bisbee, or you try to get the big court somewhere a little closer to Sierra Vista? And the whole point is it efficient to put all of that together in one location? You start with your jail, you add your courthouse a few years from now, or do we kind of keep it separate? Right now, it's a 20-minute drive to get from the main courthouse to the jail. So, it doesn't have to be there. Most counties are finding that it's best to build a complex. And in our case, you would start with one facility, but you want enough land to build on extra buildings.
You had Karen Chin, is that her name? Was in last week. That's basically the contractor that they've gotten to who will build the actual.
So she's doing the planning study. So what do we need? She's looking at crime trends, which very surprisingly we found out earlier this month. The crime trends aren't as terrible as all of us thought. Like, it was, oh my God, all of this border crime.
Yeah.
It really hasn't impacted as the numbers as much. They're still making those arrests, but a lot of those cases aren't being prosecuted here. They're going federal. And so really things haven't been that bad.
So based on what Ms. Chin was saying, what was your kind of sense of what she thinks would be the best location of those?
They actually didn't get to that. They haven't even started that part yet. She's trying to finish all of their assessments. They've actually gone through crime trends, court filing trends, divorce trends, dependency and severance cases with the state going after families, because all of those end up in court. And so before you can really decide where to put your jail, the Board of Supervisors do need to understand what the demands are for the court system, even if they decide to keep it separate. They need to have that data, and she's not quite done there yet.
Right. So right now, I guess we could kind of make the assessment that right now our front runners are Melody Lane 1,
Mhm.
Sierra Vista, Charleston, and Mosin 2, and the rest are considerable long shots.
Yeah, I don't. Kathleen Gomez, the supervisor for District 2, has absolutely said she's not voting for anything that takes all of those jobs out of District 2, which is Douglas, Bisbee, and Tombstone. So I think her vote would be Melody Lane. Tom Crosby really hasn't weighed in terribly, even though the Charleston Road would be in his district. Frank Antonori, his big thing right now is he wants to look at that data, Matt. He wants to know, what are we talking about in transportation costs? And he's not just talking about gas.
Mm-hmm.
If you're taking a Sierra Vista officer and you're driving somebody all the way to Douglas to book them into a new jail, there's a cost for that officer, not only his time, but just he or she being out of their area. Same thing if you go Douglas to Sierra Vista. You've now added that extra time distance for a Douglas officer. So it's a big lot to look at. Also, keep in mind, we typically get a lot of bookings on behalf of the feds. So a lot of federal courtesy bookings. Someone gets booked in for the day, U.S. Marshals or whomever come the next day, take them, and they deal with them on the federal level. If suddenly you put a jail in Benson or even in Sierra Vista, are they going to say, well, geez, we're already driving that distance, we might as well, just keep taking them to Tucson, and now we've lost that income.
Yeah. So I guess from all this, my big takeaway is that Melody Lane is the prohibited favorite.
At this point, I would say so.
Okay. Well, and this is all dependent on this jail tax and the election, any of that passing through the courts before and then how the funding for this is even going to come in. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But right now we handicapped the 6 choices for you, so you're going to be ahead of the game. Terri Jo, thanks for joining and thanks for tuning in.